Vaping or using electronic cigarettes has become a popular alternative for people who want to quit smoking. But is it really a healthier option? Are there regulations for e-cigarettes in the country? Tonight, we discuss the pros and cons of vaping. I'm Ruth Cabal. This is On the Record. Our guests for this episode, Dr. Riz Gonzalez, Philippine Pediatric Society Tobacco Control Advocacy Group, Chairperson Peter Paul Dator, Vapers PH Chairperson, and joining us later, Pasay City Mayor Emmy Rubiano. Pasay is one of the cities that banned vaping in public areas. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Doc, I'll start with you. Can you tell us muna, yung hindi familiar, what is vaping or what is using e-cigarettes?
Okay, let's define. Vaping is actually the popular term for this new technology. For the WHO, we call it the ENDS, or the Electronic Nicotine Delivery System, or the Electronic Non-Nicotine Delivery System, because there are systems not using nicotine. Now, popularly, vape, because of the cloud that it's producing, it's relatively new. It's discovered, made in China in 2003 by Professor Honlik, in hoping to help his father quit from smoking. And it's commercialized in 2006. And it has evolved from the first generation to the fourth generation, from the e-cigs to the tanks to the mods and to the pods. Now, it is actually meant as a quit device for smoking. But I don't know what happens to the marketing.
Pero ano pong laman niya? How does it differ from yung tobacco cigarettes?
Well, cigarettes uses the tobacco leaves and then it's processed in a paper. For e-cigarettes, it has a device in the liquid. So the device, it's not going to work without the other. So the device is actually those e-cigs, tanks, and mods. The e-liquids is not just plain liquid. It has a base. It's the humectants, which we call the vegetable and the propylene glycol. That's actually generally regarded as safe for ingestion or for the skin. And here, you put the nicotine and also the flavoring so that it's more enticing and it's actually better to inhale. Now, what happens is if you hit this, it's not really combustion. Combustion is for the cigarettes.
Combustion meaning yung
it's a high temperature. That's what you use for tobacco. That's why there are much more carcinogens and more chemicals. For e-liquids, it's more of hitting. Okay. However, the combination of these humectants, nicotine, and the flavoring generates a few of these carcinogenic properties. And carcinogenic properties, no matter how small, is dangerous. So we compare the tobacco like jumping from 21st floor and using e-liquids jumping from 5th floor. But what's the outcome? It can kill you.
Pero anong difference niya? Bakit sinasabi ng iba na it's safer? Dahil anong nabawas compared to tobacco?
Because right now, it is known to have lesser chemicals, lesser carcinogens. But what I'm telling to you, lesser chemicals and lesser carcinogens is not to be called safe. It is still the safer. R carries the risk because it still has.
Okay, that's of course from the point of view of a doctor. Tanungin natin yung isang user ng ng vape, no, si Peter. Peter, ilang taong kang smoker and paano ka nag-shift sa vape?
Ruth, I've been smoking since 2001, no. And then I decided to switch or transition to vaping 2010. Basically for the family, because when I had kids, my wife wouldn't allow me to hug my babies from work because I smell with the smoke, no? So that's when I started transitioning. And then I felt a lot better. I used to play a lot of sports when I was in college, and due to stress with work, balancing life, family and all, whenever I get together with my friends playing basketball, I couldn't play my
Nung nagsusmoke ka yung Yossi.
Yes, yung sigarilyo, my resistance and my ability to play is cut short. But I felt way much better now. And also one of the the rule of my wife was you cannot smoke inside the car while you're driving. As when you compare it with now I'm vaping, hindi kasi siya kumakapit sa upholstery ng sasakyan and with the traffic and all. You can vape while you're driving.
Pero ang tanong ko sa'yo, Peter, why can't you just quit smoking? What is it in vaping na same sensation? Can you just explain it to me? Kasi wala, I don't smoke and I don't vape.
That is a great question.
Okay.
No? I think whenever I'm stressed out, whenever I want to think, it's already been built in with me. That is why we are advocating that for those people who really cannot quit smoking, there's just this alternative. That it has to be there still. Kasi ako talaga, Ruth, mas maganda talagang wala na, but I can't I'm sorry.
Ano hinahabol mo? Yung hit-hit, yung smoke, yung vape? Or what's it?
And again, that's a great question. I figured out that I like the cloud. That's
Which
what
one?
The smoke, the cloud in vaping.
Yung usok talaga.
Yes,
Oo.
it seems that's what I'm looking for. And the question you asked me earlier regarding the milligrams, it also will differ from each and every person. Because if you really want to stick to vaping, you need to find what specifically is the milligrams that's
We're talking about nicotine now. Pwede bang wala?
Yes, I know some people with
Na walang
0
nicotine.
mg, right? The only effect is that the only difference is that the flavor, the flavor is lesser if it's lower nicotine level.
So anong pwedeng bilhin na mix ng nicotine? Ilang
Actually,
percent?
depende talaga eh.
Dito sa Pilipinas,
It will range from 0 to around
36.
36 milligrams.
ikaw, anong ginagamit mo?
6 lang ako eh.
6 lang. So okay na sa'yo yung gano'n?
Yes,
Oo.
yes,
And
yes.
nagpapa-check up ka ba? Talagang
Yes,
sabi mo,
yes.
aside from yung mas madali ka mag-sports or...
So far, I'm in good health and I hope to keep it that way.
Oo. Pero ma'am, yan, yung kwento ni Peter, I'm sure you've heard those kind of stories
Yes.
na tingin nila parang mas gumaan daw yung, di ba, yung pakiramdam nila and tingin nila walang masamang epekto.
Oo.
Ano bang pinapakita sa mga studies? I mean, you know.
Okay, for the non-smokers, actually, for the smokers, they have this stories to tell that they feel better, they go back to sports, their lung function are okay, their color returns, right?
Right.
No more dark lips,
Yeah.
okay, and even no more bad smell because the flavoring keeps them. However, the vape is dangerous when taken by a different population, and that's children, the pregnant, the non-smokers,
Akala kasi nila
and the
safe.
elders.
Oo,
Yeah.
oo.
So because it puts them at risk, no? Okay, especially the children. Alam ko yung hinahanap ni Paul dito yung nicotine eh. Because nicotine in itself, no, when you take it earlier, it hits the brain. It rewires your brain to look for that pleasurable
Parang yun yung
hit.
yung ba yung addictive na
And when
component?
nicotine
Oo.
is taken in by the child less than 25, wherein the brain is still developing, they're used to that hit, that pleasure. There is what we call the dopamine reward pathway. And what happens is the children are being trained, oh, I like this. This is better. So, you know what kids, no? They are
Yeah.
prone to experimentation, risk-taking behavior. And that's very, very dangerous because there are other things, their lungs are developing, their heart is developing.
But I'm looking at the AO of the Administrative Order of the DOH. It says there na 25 years old ang minimum allowable age.
It's because on the premise of the developing brain.
Yeah, but can they buy it? I mean,
No, it should not.
okay.
It should not. And that AO for vape, we also want it covered for cigarettes because of the nicotine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because of that concept, that was 5 years ago, that the developing brain stops at 25.
Okay.
So let's not put it in a different light that it's only for vape. It's all
e-cigarettes,
those
yes.
containing nicotine products. It's to protect the brain of the child because what is the prefrontal cortex? This is the one for behavior, for cognitive, for their attention span. We call it the CEO. Do you want a CEO which is nicotine impaired? Of course not.
Peter, ilan ang miyembro ng Vapers PH? So,
Around anywhere between around 1,600 members.
1,000. So, we're talking about anong age?
Iba-iba eh, but
Anong pinakabata?
mga 19 adults.
Okay.
adults
Oo,
sila.
mostly adults.
Mostly
And
adults.
mostly, ito yung former smokers.
Yes,
You're looking
yes,
for
yes,
alternative.
yes.
Kasi di ba like in the US, we know na yung
Younger.
youth naman,
Yes,
even the yung
right.
high school
Yes,
students
yes.
talagang malawak yung youth sa Amerika. Kaya malaking issue yun.
Oo.
Okay, so pag-uusapan pa natin more about vaping when we return. This is On the Record on CNN Philippines. You're on the record on CNN Philippines. Also joining us tonight is Pasay City Mayor Emmy Calixto Rubiano. Pasay City is one of those that first banned vaping in public areas. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Ms. Ruth.
Actually, ang DOH ay meron ng administrative order which bans it in public places. Pero nakalagay doon ay it's up to the local government units to implement and to impose penalties. So ano po ba ang ginawa ng Pasay City?
Sa Pasay City, meron kaming Ordinance 6016 regulating the use of e-cigarettes in all public places and public conveyances such as buses, taxis, jeepneys, tricycle, and in all places of worship, government facilities, recreational, educational facilities, hospitals, and health centers.
Paano po ang penalties pag may mahuli?
Ang penalties nito, meron kaming no contest policy na pagka hindi na niya kino-contest yung kanyang arrest, he or she will voluntarily pay 1,000 pesos or render 6 hours of community service.
Sino po yung pwedeng manghuli or sino yung magbabantay sa mga public places?
Yung mga pulis ang naatasan para mag-implement nitong batas na to.
Pero Mayor, interesado lang ako, why did you have to come up with this ordinance? Ano po ba yung nakikita niyong epekto sa inyong constituents?
Oo, in Pasay City, we have this advocacy that we call HELP, H-E-L-P, acronym for Health, Education, Livelihood, and Peace and Order. And health is one of the priority concerns of this program. That's why we want to protect our constituents, especially the minors, against the harmful effects of this e-cigarette.
Doon po ba sa Pasay, kasi pinag-usapan namin kanina, di ba, sana ang target nito adults lang, pero may mga batang naengganyo na gumagamit eh. Sa Pasay po ba may mga ganong instances na may mga bata talagang nahuhuli na gumagamit nito?
Merong ilan lang. May ilan lang. Pero, syempre, dahil dun sa mga flavors na nilalagay, na-entice sila gumamit.
Okay. We actually tried to invite someone from the health department, kaya lang wala silang maipadala for now. But we have a statement na rin naman from Secretary Duque. He's saying na wala pa talagang, can we flash the statement, na wala pa naman daw talagang studies na nagsasabi na less harmful at alternative to cigarettes itong e-cigarettes or vaping, and then they're not supporting any claims of reduced harm because the product endangers the health of both users and non-users and are clearly not meant for children.
Yes.
Okay. Meron na ring AO banning this kasi hindi siya kasama dun sa law na no
Yes.
smoking in public places, di ba? Pero may mga question dito sa court. I want to know from the side of Peter, bakit ba kino-question? This is a good thing, regulating it. But then, anong kino-contest nyo dito?
Yes, Ruth, no. From our group, from Vapers PH, we agree with regulations. And then PCIA also agrees with regulating vaping products also. The only thing is that we're questioning like the 25 years old na for the children. Kasi nga po, the way tobacco is being regulated right now, alcohol, 18. And also there are a lot of, for us, we think na medyo hindi po klaro yung sa batas from the yung guidelines and the way they're trying to limit the flavors. So those were the things that we would like to see clarification. That's why PCIA filed the TRO.
Doc, ano ba sa tingin nyo yung mga main issues dito?
The AO is actually mainly to protect children from trying and getting hooked. What I understand, the AO regulates the volume, the packaging, because if you're going to see the e-liquids, parang pagkain eh. So may candy, may ice cream, and
mga
everything.
fruits yung
if you see that, parang ka nasa
flavor
bake shop eh.
Oo.
So children would love that. Now, there is also danger of poisoning when a small kid ingests that, not knowing it's nicotine. Okay, so and 1 milligram per kilo of nicotine ingestion ang gulp 5, pwedeng mamatay yung
Talaga?
baby. Yes,
Oo.
yes.
For the baby.
Yes, for the baby. So
Oo.
that's a 1 or a 2-year-old baby. So that's it. So that's what our FDA is trying to do to protect accidental ingestion and also children really being enticed of vape out of flavor. Actually, yun ang number one reason why they try vape. It seems it's like dessert.
Yeah.
And where do they vape? At the comfort room of the school, at the back of the cabinet, unknowing that it is harmful for them. So instead of a quick device for adult or a shift device for adults,
Ibig sabihin yung parang alternative
oo,
na ano.
Ang nangyari, nagiging cheat device, tinatago. Kasi alam nila, mali, pero hindi nila mapigilan yung sarili kasi they want to try the flavors. Para bang pumunta ka sa bakery tapos naamoy mo, di ba? Ganun ang
Yun ang
dating sa
main
kanila.
concern kasi yung mga bata.
Yes.
Balikan ko rin pala si Mayor. Kunwari, meron ba sa inyong ban? I mean, it's banned in public places. Pero in terms of selling it, may minimum allowable age ba na bawal? Kasi ngayon, 25 years old yung sa DOH. Doon po ba sa Pasay? Tsaka yung sa ads, may ban din ba doon sa ads?
Oo. Sa amin, they cannot sell to minors. Pwede lang bumili yung 18 years old and above.
Mas binabaan nyo pa yung minimum ng
Oo,
DOH,
18
kasi it's 25
old,
years old.
Oo, doon naman sa ads, syempre hindi pwedeng gamitin yung mga cartoon characters, tapos hindi pwedeng ipalabas sa TV, cinemas, or radios, at saka gayon din sa mga gagamitin nilang model sa kanilang advertisement, kailangan 25 years old and above. Oo, may mga ganun
May
kami.
mga ganun ding provision sa inyong ordinance. Okay.
Oo.
Pero interesting lang din yung points. May nababasa lang din ako sa internet na parang, I don't know if this is how also other people look at it, na parang kung ibawal daw yung vape, ano yun, baka naman daw bumalik na sa pagyoyosi. Pwede ba mangyari yun?
Kasi yung knowledge cap, they thought nga, okay, we're regulating vape, mas mahal siya. Let's go to cigarettes. No. Our point is really out of that bad vice. Okay, so they are both, parang baril yan no? The cigarettes is the high arm, the e-cigarettes is the lesser arm. But if it lands in wrong hands, it can surely harm you. Parang nga yung jumping 21, jumping 5.
So you would really favor yung mahigpit na regulation?
Actually, that is what personally I see why the epidemic in the US happened. Because there was no clear-cut FDA regulation from the start. And here we're trying to compromise. Let's regulate. It's for the safety. And also, this is what I noticed. There is PSEA and others who wants to regulate. Okay. However, we are very notorious in having underground.
Right,
So, this product should be pharmaceutical grade. Just imagine, it's being inhaled, unregulated. It can be contaminated, it can be laced with drugs or other things.
Pero ngayon ba FDA, kailangan ba na sa FDA registration? Yun yung nasa AO,
It
di ba?
It should be.
But now, without the AO, ano bang nangyayari?
It's still unregulated. Anyone can sell, anyone
So kayo,
can mix.
Saan kayo bumibili? Very open. Nakikita ko yung mga bentahan ng mga vape. They have
Off the market
stores.
lang naman yung mga yung mga ingredients. And Ruth, PSEA and our group, Vapers PH, we're also all for regulation. There are just some questions like 25 to the point you said earlier. If you regulate too hard, baka bumalik lang din yung tao sa smoking. And Doc raised a good point. There's a knowledge gap. If we advocate also that we don't sell to minors. So let's also advocate education to them. Na parang hindi naman kasi ko rin nakikitang solusyon na tanggalin lang natin yan, wala na. Baka lang they might just go underground and it defeats the purpose of regulating it.
Pero Doc, yung mga report sa Amerika kasi na merong, I was just reading sa Michigan, yung 17-year-old boy na who had to undergo double lung transplant dahil daw nga gumagamit siya ng vape, and 2,000 people sick lung disease because of vape products.
Yeah, that's actually the data as of last Thursday.
Yeah.
The CDC releases it every Thursday. Confirmed E-Valley cases. No?
Yeah,
So that's e-cigarette, vaping, induced lung injury. What is actually coming out is the use of vitamin E acetate as a thickener for the solvent. And they laced it with tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the liquid marijuana.
Marijuana, yeah.
Okay. So, and most often, they get it from illegal sources. So, that's 50%. But 50% actually came from legal. It's because of
Legal
the
substances, legal chemicals, okay.
Those humectants, flavorings, and nicotines. The danger is, it was totally unregulated.
Okay.
So, that's where the problem is.
Doon ang gagaling yung sakit na
Yes.
lung-related disease. Okay, balikan natin yan, Doc. Mag-break lang tayo.
Yes.
Quick break. This is On the Record. Stay with us.
Yun.
You're watching On the Record on CNN Philippines. We're talking about vaping, yung cases especially in the US na nire-relate sa lung diseases. So ang malinaw, Doc, iba yung ginagamit nila doon sa
Yeah.
ginagamit dito?
Because most of the deaths are implicated to have used illegal substances which are not from legal sources.
Yung parang may marijuana nga, yung may ingredient ng marijuana.
And oil should never be inhaled.
Yes.
And these victims inhaled oil, heated oil. So what happens is it's like having a chemical pneumonitis. And what is hardest hit are actually the non-smokers, the young. So what is the bottom line? The CDC recommends vape should never be taken by non-smokers. For children less than 18, pregnant, and elders. It's
Okay.
that to be safe.
Okay, but it's not also saying na porke iba yung ginagamit sa Amerika at iba dito sa
There are
Pilipinas.
other ingredients which are implicated because
Hindi kasi in
about
the first place, marijuana is illegal here.
50% actually use the legal. So there are other factors. They are still elucidating what happens. There might be other diseases.
Okay, on the side of Peter, ano naman ang message mo dun sa about using vape? I mean, or reminders din sa tamang paggamit nito?
Well, by the end of the day, we all have to be responsible. To what Doc was saying, I think we owe to the minors. We have to do our best to make sure that they don't go into vaping, provided they don't go to smoking also.
Yeah.
I agree with that totally. But also, as vapers, we all have to be responsible. Secondhand smoke, there are certain etiquettes that we need to follow. Siyempre, if you're pregnant, don't smoke. If your kids are there, don't vape, right? We just all have to be very responsible enough to respect the rights of others. And hopefully, we get this regulated because we all agree that it must be regulated. Pero sana lang, the regulation is just enough.
And mas malinaw din yung guidelines.
And clear for
yeah.
everybody so that, we just don't go underground and push people to go back to tobacco or just do it in their backyards.
Okay. Kay Mayor, pa-explain lang ulit, bakit may ganitong ordinansa para mas maintindihan din po ng constituents nyo?
Oo, meron tayong ordinansa sa Pasay nito kasi gusto namin pangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan at ang ating environment. Alam naman ninyo na walang ina na gustong mapahamak ang mga anak niya. Kaya naman, inaalagaan talaga sa Pasay ang kalusugan ng mga kababayan at tandaan po ninyo sa lahat ng aking constituents and all the visitors of Pasay City, we have this ordinance that regulates the use of e-cigarettes in Pasay.
In public places, ano
In
po,
public
Mayor?
places and public conveyances. At sana po, suportahan ito, hindi lang sa Pasay, kung hindi sa buong bansang Pilipinas.
Doc, briefly lang, balikan ko lang yung sinabi ni Peter na second-hand smoke from
Yes.
vaping.
There is a second-hand aerosol.
Okay. So may effect din yun?
Yeah, because there is this misconception that it is just a vapor. No. It is an aerosol. When you mean vapor, it's like boiling water turns into gas form. It's just water. But when you heat these liquids, it has an aerosol. There are suspended particles.
So dapat lalayo pa rin ba kami dun sa
Opo.
mga nag-vape?
Yes,
Ganon?
even though
Anong
less.
pwedeng effect?
You might have exacerbation of hika
Okay.
or pneumonia, allergic rhinitis, even skin irritation,
Okay.
Yes.
So yun na lang.
and exposure to nicotine.
Okay. So anong importante na lang ngayon in terms of regulating it? Kasi may mga kaso pa yung AO
Oo
ng
nga
DOH. So ano na lang dapat nating tandaan, Doc?
Okay, minors, please stay away from vape.
Okay.
It's not for you. As a pediatrician, be safe. Please don't vape.
Okay. Please don't vape. Okay. Balikan ko si Peter. Ikaw naman, anong reminders mo?
Yun lang, let's just be responsible, vapers, smokers, and all that. We just be respectful of the rights of the others. And sana, let's regulate this, and hopefully the DOH will come up with an AO that is amenable to all the stakeholders.
Anong age ang favorable kayo?
Right now, Ruth, kasi 18 pa din. Kasi for
Pero
us,
25
to
ba yun?
push for
Oo.
25, for us, that's tawag mo dito, parang lugi naman yata kami. Kasi
So, dapat payagin-
bakit yung sigarilyo tsaka yung alcohol mabibili mo sa merkado at 18?
18, okay.
Tapos kami ay 25. Walang substantial distinction. So parang bakit ganun? Bakit kami yung 25, sila hindi?
Okay, so yun yung isang,
Yes.
ano nyo,
At
isang
saka, Ruth,
kahilingan nyo.
at 18 nga, you can get married eh. Di ba?
That's old school.
Mag-vape pa.
Kinukontra ka ni Doc, oo. Tama ba yung 25 years old, Doc?
Because the concept of age development is 5 years ago, no? So 25. So vape is a new product, sila yung tinamaan. But what I have said, that rule should cover also the nicotine from the cigarette. So it should be. But law is law. There are so many amendments. Sila yung napuruhan. But
So
however, it's the nicotine. Okay, it's not the device or the e-liquid. It's not because of the vape. It's the nicotine content both from the cigarette and the e-liquid.
Okay, mahaba-haba pa itong diskusyon na ito dahil may mga nakabinbin pa na kaso dun sa AO ng DOH. But this was a great discussion. Thank you very much to our guests. That's on the record. Thank you for watching. I'm Ruth Cabal. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.